Welcome back to Gargoyles. Silver Falcon takes us to Season 2, and Eliza's partner, Bluestone, is on the job, having an unexpected meeting with Dracon, the guy with the guns back when she got shot by Broadway. Well, Bluestone is unconventional. He believes in a lot of things like the Illuminati, for instance. And I've had a theory that I might have mentioned on the show before. I don't think there is an Illuminati. I think there was one, but they were all like abducted by aliens or something, and now all the people who worked for them, like mowing the lawn or doing the dishes or stuff, they're actually running things now. The mechanisms are all there, and nobody realizes the people at the top have changed. Just one of them said, "Oh, come on, I want the Cubs to win the World Series, okay? Just once, and then we'll stop there, I promise." And now we got, just look out the window here. War, disease, and I can't even bring myself to say it. The Morbius movie. Like that one? I threw that in there just so that you'd know that this isn't a re-upload like the other ones. It's my equivalent of holding up today's newspaper like they do in the movies. Anyway, speaking of movies, Broadway is watching an old gangster picture at Eliza's that is clearly an homage to the Maltese Falcon, which this episode's title comes from. But she gets the message about Bluestone disappearing, and Broadway's anxious to help her. So much so that despite her telling him not to come, he flies out onto Bluestone's balcony while a hoodlum is rummaging the place. When Eliza knocks to see if Bluestone is home, the guy pulls a gun. So Broadway naturally charges. He has strong feelings on the subject of guns, remember.
Got you covered, partner!
I think we can all agree it's great to have a good partner in a tactical situation. Suffice to say, Broadway turned this into an exercise in collateral damage, especially to the elevator, before tossing the crook out onto the floor by Eliza. She unmasks him, but alas, it is not Mr. Magruder who runs the closed-down amusement park. He's just some guy, some dude who booby-trapped the computer to explode if anyone turned it on, like, say, Broadway here. If Gargoyles had insurance, they would never be able to afford the premiums. Well, she tells him to go home after that, but, it leads to my favorite line of the whole episode.
Elisa, I'm sorry about the bomb.
That is the exact same tone my kids have when they forget to feed the cats. She says this is no place for an amateur detective who wants to live out a movie fantasy, but Broadway says going it alone is more dangerous, which it theoretically might be. The one clue that was saved was for a meeting that night, which is with a guy named Hacker who's a member of the FBI. Seems Bluestone was once part of the Bureau, but he was shown the door to his obsession with the Illuminati. But this guy is nice enough to authenticate a letter belonging to a gangster named Mason Malone back in the 20s. The 1920s. Damn, we're this far into the decade and I have to remind myself of that. Although dodging the murder hornets has been a bit of a distraction, hasn't it? Anyway, the letter mentions the titular Silver Falcon, so she's on the right track. Well, right after the meeting, a couple of thugs show up, including the one who escaped during the explosion. But luckily, she did bring along Broadway as backup, and thanks to him, two are knocked out and she has the third disarmed, for about 5 seconds before he escapes in a car. So she moves on the address of the letter, which leads to an old CPA, who knows about the place's shady past, and says the Silver Falcon is the name of Mason's nightclub. Well, it sounds like our next stop. If we're lucky, they'll still be serving cocktails. Well, they find guys in the basement using lasers to cut through the wall, under the watchful eye of Dracon's right-hand man, Glasses. And sure enough, Bluestone is tied up nearby. But the problem is, they were expected, and explosives bury the pair of them under rubble. Worse yet, the sun must be up, because Broadway soon turns to stone. Nice timing. Well, luckily, Bluestone persuades Glasses that Eliza might not have the letter on her. The only way to be sure is to dig her out and check. That way he can destroy the evidence that linked Mason to Dracon's grandfather. The pair did the jewelry heist together. Yeah, no Illuminati, sorry. Need to look for a better clue, like cryptic symbols on money. Speaking of false leads, after all that work, the safe is empty. save for a note saying that it's the wrong Falcon. Oh well. 70-year-old crime, I'm sure tracking this down won't be a problem. Well, not to worry. Eliza says she actually does know where it is, and she will trade the location of those jewels for her and Bluestone's lives. But it has to be done under cover of night, meaning that Broadway could then wake up.
Right idea. Wrong Falcon.
And work on solving the case. As for Lisa and Dracon, just leap from that helicopter 1,000 feet in the air. People in this world are nuts. Eliza crawls out onto the Falcon ornamentation of the building and finds the old bag from the heist. Then throws herself off it. Like I said, nuts. She'd spotted Broadway, actually, who catches her, and then at her prompting, chases the helicopter to get Bluestone back, too. Broadway also takes the opportunity to reenact the gangster movie as he captures Dracon. So that wraps everything. Oh, looks like we're going into overtime here. Yes, this is Dracon's grandfather, Dracon, who was playing at being CPA. Except he finds out that the gems are not in the Silver Falcon either. They're just marbles, and a note saying that crime doesn't pay. 70 years, that's a long time just to screw with someone's head. But I know a few parents who are that way, so, I buy it completely. Silver Falcon gets a stamp of recommended. It's an enjoyable outing with an unexpected pairing that works. Broadway balances between his innocence and being a force of nature, and Elisa finds the way to make that work instead of being an obstacle to the case. And for her to see what a benefit it is to have a partner, to have someone watching her back. What's particularly notable is that the episode deviates from what the norm of the show is at this time. Plus, it also deviates from our expectations. This has nothing to do with the major goings-on in the story, but it seems to be setting up a new Illuminati plot advancement. Remember that when Gargoyles came out, the X-Files was huge. But instead, this is just about criminals trying to get some money. Now, this was actually an intentional diversion. The mystery originally seemed too weak, so the idea came up to add the Illuminati subplot in here as a red herring, in an effort to make the mystery more sophisticated. Which, of course, again showcases how they didn't feel the need to dumb down the show just because it was an afternoon cartoon. In fact, a telling remark comes from a memo that Greg Weisman had sent the writer regarding this episode, saying that the younger Gargoyles should not be seen as children. They should be seen like a 20-year-old back from fighting in Vietnam. Still young, but has seen things, knows how to fight, knows how to survive. I've been saying it for more than 10 years, but I'll keep saying it. Gargoyles was ahead of its time compared to even live-action shows. And that doesn't even factor in that it was a market largely aimed at children that didn't feel the need that it had to talk down to children.
All hail your